Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. This is another episode of the JAMS Football Show with Kyle and Horace. I'm Kyle, and this is my buddy and teammate Horace Hawk. And normally we like to keep things very upbeat, very happy, but we're going to start on a little bit of a downer, a little bit of a less, pleasant note. But Horace, go ahead.
All right, well, before we start off with our weekly episode, we would like to pay respects to a fellow competitor, someone we've complimented on the show a bunch of times. As most of you know, Shaheem Anderson from Swagman Devils passed away last week. I spoke to him a couple times. I thought he was a great guy, a great competitor, and a great teammate. Swag, our prayers, our duas, our positive thoughts are with you guys while you guys go through this tough time.
Yeah, not going to say too much more, but as you said, and literally just from speaking to every single person that has had interactions with him, all I heard was positive things. So, props to him. In fact, one of my students actually knew him. So small world, and it's unfortunate. Now, I actually heard that I think Swag is starting a foundation for his daughter, if I'm not mistaken. And he had a young daughter. He was 25 years old himself. And I think that the JAMS board is going to go ahead and make a donation. I don't have confirmation on that yet. But, anyone in the league, I'm sure that, anything that you could give would be very greatly appreciated by Shaheem's family. And, so Swag, we're thinking of you guys, and, wish you guys all the best, and may God make things easy for you guys. So anyway, so let's get started with our weekly power rankings, Horace, shall we?
Yeah, let's go ahead and start with that.
Okay, so I'm just going to share the screen. Okay, so Horace, I don't think anything's changing for me from week 8. Some people might be a little upset about that.
Is there any way we could actually pull up our week 8?
I got weeks. So we're on week 8 right now. Here's my weeks. Here's our week 7 right here. Week 7, I had Swag, Spartans, Union Knights, Dime City, Booton, Hurricanes, Code Red, Gladiators, VS, GPAC. You had Spartan, Swag, Knights, Union, Dime City, Hurricanes, Boonton, Code Red, Gladiators, VS, and GPAC.
Literally, my list has not changed.
Neither has mine. Neither has mine.
I mean, what happens when you're in a league? It's what happens when you're in a league full of 10 teams, or 11 teams, rather. There's not much room for, movement and standings.
True, especially when we're so many games in, and right now we're finding out who teams actually are. By this point, pretty much everyone on the team has made a debut. Some players didn't show up the first couple weeks. Some players maybe went to Hajj, which is the religious, pilgrimage to Saudi Arabia. Maybe they're out for a couple weeks. But now we're at the point in time where the roster deadline, if it hasn't happened yet, I think it is this week. So we kind of know what teams are by this point in time. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, the roster deadline, I believe, was actually yesterday. I think that's what was in the email. So, yeah, teams are now finally set. The only thing left is for everyone to play their 3 games to get eligibility for the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think that's really it.
Yeah, so – and honestly, there was no shocking wins or losses. And I don't think we've seen too many shockers this year, to be honest. I think pretty much –
I think the biggest one might have been the VS Hurricanes one.
Yeah, I agree with that. And just Hurricanes in general, for that matter. I don't think anyone really thought they were going to be world beaters this year. But you expected them to be a top 4 or 5 team, clearly above some of those, bottom-end competition. But right now they're playing right with that bottom-end competition. Would you agree with that?
I think they're in the lower half. Not exactly the bottom end, but they're on the lower end of stuff, of the standings, actually. Yes, they're playing below average.
I hear you. So let's go on to our current power rankings. And like we said, let's just breeze through it, I guess, because there's not much changing but we'll
Yeah,
talk about what we saw in the game. So I still got Swag at my number one. I had them there last week. I think I might have gotten a little bit of heat for that. We actually played against Spartans last week, Horace, and Spartans came out fired up. I think they're fiery. They got a lot of young blood, people that aren't worn out by having kids and being in married life yet. I know they got a couple guys that I guess who are married, but not
that's
too
a
many.
terrible excuse, man. we got our butts handed to us that game. They were the
I am not giving an excuse at all. Don't misconstrue what I'm saying. What I'm saying is they came out fired up. They were talking, rightfully so. But I think I heard some of them say, "Oh, we're overrated," and maybe that was a shot towards me. I don't know that for sure.
Hey, I had them number one, so
you had them number one. I didn't, but their record at least would say that they're number one. So I don't know who else would be saying that they're overrated. I mean, I felt like it was towards me, but rightfully so. Hey, listen, I get on here and I run my mouth, so I have no problem with people, giving it back. So, but with that being said, Horace, I still feel that Swag is the better team, and I get it. Spartans beat them, but I think if they meet again, you will see Swag come out on top. And Swag has just had more impressive victories this year, and we saw another impressive one. Was it 30-0 against the Hurricanes, Horace, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, it was a shutout. It was 30-0. So there's that. I mean, Swag, when they have everyone there, they have the most potent offense in the league by far.
By far. And can we say that maybe they have an improved defense this year too? I mean, how many shutouts do they have this year? They just pulled up another one. So let's go. I'm going to go to their team page and see how many shutouts they've pitched this year. I know the one game against Boonton, 24 points. That seems to be where they let up the most points this year. That's quite a bit. That was a shot. For
they have 4 shutouts. There's
4 shutouts in 7 games.
Dime City, Knights, and the Canes.
Yeah, and that Knights victory is impressive. I mean, I know it's only 8-0, but nonetheless, Knights is more of a defensive team than an offensive team. But anytime you could shut them out, that's impressive.
I think the Dime City shutout might have been the most impressive.
Yeah, 24-0.
At the same time, that Dime City team wasn't the same as it is now.
Yeah, they didn't have their quarterback. And they said we played them really close at half, and it just got away from us at the end of the game. Maybe we lost our cool and whatnot. But nonetheless, it's all part of the game. And yeah, I think if they were to play Dime City again, I think the game would be closer, but you'd still see Swag, I think, with a convincing win. But it definitely would be closer, in my opinion. Anyway, let's move on. My 2, your 1 is Spartans. And hey, listen, they're still a good team. I still have them up there. So I don't know if it's fair to say that I think that they're overrated. I still got them at my number 2 spot over 2 very, very good teams, in my opinion, in the Knights and Union.
Well, the Knights, man, still one of the best defenses. We're not getting any breaks. We're playing the 2 most physical teams back-to-back with Spartans and the Knights. And the week before, we played Dime City. I think the worst part is the Knights have more size than Spartans. Actually, that might be tough to say. They have more length for sure, but Spartans have a lot of beef on their line. I was physically abused that game. I remember you were on the sideline when we were on offense, and you saw me get driven back and said something, and I just couldn't do anything. Ibrahim Salavani he destroyed me last year, destroyed me this year.
I actually don't think I said anything to you about that, Horace.
I don't know.
You might be confusing me with someone else.
A lot of voices on the sideline. There were a lot of voices that game. But as for the Knights, we get to see their new quarterback. He's more of a runner. As always, there's Omar Yusuf. There's Omar Elvahel. Josh Gordon even got bigger. I saw him on campus last week. This is a big team, man.
It is a big team.
And let's not forget the captain himself, Ahmed Gabel.
Yeah, he's an all-star in his own right, and he's a field general out there, very similar to D'Lo in that sense, that he's not necessarily the quarterback, but in a sense he is a quarterback in the amount of calls that he's putting out there on the field and keeping the guys in check, and he's kind of the guy that makes the team turn. If he weren't to show up for any particular week, I think you'd see a very different Knights team. Just my opinion. But so I want to speak a little bit more about the Spartans. Yeah, I thought they were a very good team, very physical. We knew that coming in. We knew that Omar Katanani someone that you had to contain, and
And
we
he
just
had
didn't
both
get it done.
touchdowns against us too, right?
No, he had one of them, and the other one was one of the Abbasi brothers,
Okay.
Islam's brother. I don't know if he's the older or younger brother. He is the taller brother. I do know that.
Okay, that
But
was a punt return, right?
the punt returner was Omar Katanani.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a simple out pattern, one of the very first plays of the game, in which really was nothing special. You know, it was a quick drop. Omar Bassi got the ball out. He caught it with his hands, and he really made a nice job turning upfield. And we missed a tackle on the sideline. You know, could have. I know you can't really push out of bounds in this league, but he was so close to going out that there was no force out or anything like that, and there was no, I guess, a poor effort on our part to grab the flag. And one of our players actually, you know, he was nursing a knee injury and he had trouble getting over to make the tackle as well. But just a very good play, a very good effort after the catch. He turned on the Jets at the end to really, you know, push the touchdown home. But, you know, as Omar said, Omar Basti, when he put his power rankings out in a game like that, you got to make sure that you're securing up the tackles, because it's really just, you're not going to have great offense. So it's kind of like who's going to get that big play off, and we didn't get it done and we let them up. And the second one was the punt return. I'll go out and say it right now, Gladiators, if you're watching, you know, I went out here and I said last week when we had Dime City on, I don't really think any of our guys watching our team, and I was proven wrong. I'm glad that I was, because I'm glad that other people are watching and supporting and hearing what we have to say, Horace. But I mean, I don't know if you were on the sideline for this punt, but we were not hustling down.
I actually no, I was on the field, and I remember you like not being happy that you were the first one as a lineman down to the play. Actually,
I mean, Horace, make no mistake about it. I'm not a big sloppy fat guy or anything like that.
oh yeah,
But I'm not fast at all. I'm not fast at all. So there's just no reason why I should be the first person down there.
All
and,
right.
and that's not to say that, and we'll move on from this in a bit. That's not to say that there weren't any other people flying down there, but I just felt as our team as a whole, we did not have the effort that we needed to. And props to Omar, because Omar made something happen. You know, he had blockers in front of him, and they made a wall. There was a wall of 3 guys that were there to block me. And he went and ran it on the opposite side of the field. And, you know, he got a little bit of help from the ref, but honestly, you know,
a little,
even if the ref is not there, it's still an awesome punt return.
Okay. So let's move on from our game to the Union. I actually saw Dr. Islam Al-Fayumi today at Juma.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's like I always like seeing him every week or so whenever I'm actually in Edison. We go to the same masjid. So
yeah, he's actually, for so long, he was a northern guy. He was very instrumental in the ICPC community. And now he's living in Edison, our neck of the woods, Horace.
really, really nice guy, really humble guy. Alhamdulillah. Well, actually, no, mashallah, rather. And he even gives khutbahs. So, I mean, not really an on-the-field accomplishment, but off the field, he's just a nice guy. Actually, hold on. I just want to say one thing about the Union. Like, those guys are not only fierce competitors, but they do not talk trash. They're very respectful of their opponents. I remember watching the Union Dime City game. One of the receivers was upset that he felt like he got a late hit. He threw the ball at him after the catch. But then Evan Lane, the captain, went at his own player and told him to shake the Dime City guy's hand, and just because it wasn't right of him to do so. So, hey.
Yeah, Union is a very respectful team. And so
my favorite part is on the forums how safe Abasi.
he's a clown out there, but in a good way. I mean, yeah, he's, you know, even since back to last year, he always used to comment on my sweaters. Like the one week where I didn't wear a sweater and I was like wearing a polo, he's like, "How come Kyle's not wearing a sweater this week?" He's always saying something funny on there.
Mm-hmm. All right. So as for football, what do you want to say?
I mean, they won 20-6. It's not really a surprise. We both picked them to win. I mean, it seems about Code Red is good for about 6 points every week. Horace, it seemed like you and our team as a whole got a little bit of flack from Code Red last week when you were saying they weren't very good and whatnot, and they did beat us. And, you know, people
If both
responded by
teams,
saying, "Go ahead."
if both teams don't make the playoffs, or if we don't see them in the playoffs, I would like to set up a scrimmage against them.
I'd
Instead
like
of
that too.
that,
I wonder how many people would show up, especially if it's an unofficiated thing. I don't know how many people would show up, but because
we
being
don't
that
tell
both teams kind of have attendance issues.
we'll tell both teams that's a legit league game. Maybe that'll get them out or something. Actually, I don't even know if that'll work.
Yeah, I don't think that'd work, but it would be fun. It would definitely be fun. That's one team. Oh gosh, week 1, things changed from week 1 to week 8, and that's one game that you definitely would like to play over again. But
Oh,
regardless, Code Red won that game. But like I said, even dating back to last year, Code Red won so many games, 7-6. It was 5 games last year. It seems like they're not very. I mean, they're good at not getting shut out because there's a good amount of shutouts on any given week in this league. Horace, Code Red manages always to not get shut out, but they don't seem to really put up more than a touchdown per week.
actually, if you look at their this entire season, only once have they scored more than one touchdown. I mean, I'm not counting the extra point against us. That I'm not really counting as more than that, but
It was a safety. It was a safety.
it was a safety.
It was a safety. They scored a touchdown, no extra point, and they got a safety.
Huh. Oh yeah, it was a catch in the end zone, right? And then they tackled him.
Yep. And even
Okay.
VS, I mean, and if you look at early season VS, I mean, VS in their first couple of games, they probably let up over 100 points, whatever it was. I know they lost 38-0 to the Knights. I mean, VS was weaker at that point. I don't know if their merger with, Game Breakers was in place yet or whatever it might be. But they only put up 13 points against VS. And I get it. We only put up 13 points against VS too. But I think they were a little bit stronger team. They're playing a little bit better since then. So, yeah, Code Red, they have good offensive players, but they need to get something going there.
They're on a 4-game losing streak. And in 3 straight games, they've only put up 6 points.
Yeah. And then the week before that, it was 0. So,
yeah, not exactly a team that scares any of us. But we were talking about the Union. Now let's move on to Dime City.
Yeah, Dime City. So Dime City goes and they get shut out. You watched more of this game than I did, Horace. What did you say?
I mean, that was really on the sidelines. It was just that it was the same. It was a game right before ours, Friday night, when we had a downpour. The conditions weren't good. Neither team could get anything going from what I saw. It's just, I think the first touchdown came late in the game or halfway through the second half. So
yeah, just as Omar said during his power rankings that he personally, and I actually like playing in the rain. I love playing in conditions like that. I think it's one of the funnest things ever. And I think it really, you get a chance to prove out the tough guys. How tough are you really? Because it was definitely cold for part of that game. The wind was crazy, and
I was sick during that game too. I said before the game, I was sick. I didn't want to play, but I think I like this league way too much to kind of miss a game.
Yeah, and we kind of had, some of us were actually trying to talk you out of not going because you were on meds and stuff, but
my parents didn't want me. My parents definitely didn't want me to go. So
yeah, but you went and you played, so props to you. No one can say that you're not tough for that. But yeah, I mean, I love playing in games like that because there's something about playing in the cold weather that when you hit someone, you can kind of get that little sting. Sometimes people don't want to get up and go out and play in the cold. And
I don't mind the rain. I just don't like downpours, especially as a center. I had a bad snap that game.
Yeah, that was a 4th down snap that went right over the quarterback.
Oh, I have to know. Okay, so there were 2 parts of that. They had a blitzer come over. He crossed the plane, and then I called it out. I lifted my arm up, and with it, the ball came up with me a little bit. And then the snap, the cadence hit at that point, and yeah, it was a bad snap. He crossed the plane. I tried to get the call. It didn't happen. So other than that,
yeah,
the slick condition didn't help. I remember pre-game, I snapped with a glove on, snapped without a glove. I actually had to change the way I snapped for this game. I put a finger at the top of the point. So it was a rough game or a rough weekend. As for Knights of Dime City, that game was physical.
Yeah, it was physical, and that game, if you thought our game was bad, our game cleared up, especially in the second half. I mean, it was really pouring a lot at the beginning of the game. The second part of the game, it wasn't really pouring at all. But if you saw the Knights Dime City game, that was crazy. And you have to think that that probably contributed in part to only seeing 6 total points in that game. Because both those teams have very solid defenses, but they have better offenses than to let 6 total points up.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to, I guess we both talked about Knights Dime City, Boone Bounty Hunters and Hurricanes.
Boone Bounty Hunters and Hurricanes. So you actually have. Oh, wait, I'm looking at Jams Week 7. Horace, your list is definitely not. Oh, it is. It is identical. Never mind. Sorry. I thought for a second that maybe you bumped Hurricanes down to the 10th spot like Big O did, but no, you have Hurricanes up at your 6th spot, and I have them at my 7th spot. You still think that Hurricanes is better than Boonton, whereas I have Boonton over Hurricanes.
Well, Boone had a bye this week. Hurricanes, they got smacked by Swag, but at the same time, Swag was smacking Boone up till the half, and then they let him come back in, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then there's also the fact that Hurricanes did beat Boone early in the season.
Yeah, 24-8. But let's keep in mind this is definitely a different Boonton team, and it seems like it's definitely a different Hurricanes team. And let's be honest, Boonton has since made a quarterback change, and they've been, you could say, thriving under it. And I don't know what's happened with Hurricanes. I don't know if Randy played in that first game for him. I know he got hurt. Someone told me ACL.
Mm-hmm.
But was he playing in that first game? Because he is a huge spark on offense for them. Who else are they missing since that point? Because I don't know, to put up 24 points against Boonton and then all of a sudden to, be putting up a couple shutouts these past couple weeks. I know they put up 46 against GPAC, but something tells me, I don't have information about this game. Something tells me GPAC did not field a full team for that game.
At this time, a lot of teams start losing a lot of players just because no one wants to either get beat too bad or it gets too cold. Commitment becomes your team plays also against commitment issues at this point of the season.
Yeah, and once the losses start piling up, there's just something, some people just, you know what, I'm going to play on a team that loses. I don't even get to play that much. And some people just say, the heck with it. So commitment issues always factor in at this point in time. And you'll actually start to see, the roster deadline, as you said, was yesterday. Teams are actually cutting some players and adding some players. So, in fact, our team did that as well. But we'll just say that. We'll leave it at that. So, I think Boonton's better. I mean, they're a totally different team in my mind. Quarterback, especially when you put a guy like Brandon out there, it's just been a game changer for them. And I think the whole team has responded. I don't know if they had Rich week 1. Rich is an awesome player. He doesn't get enough credit. We gave him, a shout out last week, and I think he needs to continue to get even more credit. Just looking at the guy, I mean, it's like, oh my gosh. You think like he's part of like the world's strongest man, or he should be like Mr. Olympia or something like that. Anyway, I'm talking way too much, Horace. Let's move on. Code Red. I have Code Red at 8. You have them at 8 as well. I actually thought you were going to drop them. We were talking a little bit about Code Red before we got on, and I wasn't looking at your list yet, and I thought you dropped them down to like 10 or something, but you didn't.
Honestly, I feel like the last 4 teams, Code Red, Gladiators, VS, GPAC, that for the most part is going to stay the same. It's just that Code Red beat us, and we haven't beaten anyone else besides the last couple teams on this list. So,
yeah, Horace. I mean, I think for at least the good last 5 shows that we did, I think we've had the same exact order: Code Red, Gladiators, VS, GPAC. I know there was one week where you bumped VS up to I don't know, past us or something like that. But other than that, it's been, for me, it seems like every week I got the same exact order right here.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm kind of running out of things to say for these 4 teams.
Yeah, I don't think there's much more else that we need to say.
I mean, I guess there was something interesting that I saw. Oh yeah,
I think we got something to say, Horace.
Which one? Oh, the Code Red?
Okay.
Or what?
So just to clarify, in case anyone's wondering, I was actually exchanging some texts with Casey about a week ago, and we were talking about the playoffs, the brackets and
Casey,
who's
the
going to
Dime
make
City
it.
captain, by the way.
Casey's the Dime City captain. He joined us on the show last week. It was a great show, very entertaining. And he was under the assumption that 6 teams made the playoffs. I was under the assumption that 8. I checked and confirmed with Mustafa. Sure enough, it is 8 teams that make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
We have 11 teams. That means 3 teams will not make the playoffs.
Oh.
So if you look at the standings, you got a 2-5 team, another 2-5 team, and then you have a bunch of 2-4 teams, and then you have a 3-4 team. So I think it's safe to say 5-1, the Union, they're a lock. Knights is a lock. Swag is a lock. Spartans is a lock. I don't know if Dime City is a lock. I mean, sitting at 3 wins, 4 games left.
I think if they win one more, they're essentially a lock. Unless,
I definitely, if they win more, they're definitely a lock. I would just wonder at this point in time, they are -16 in differential, which, by the way, it does factor in. If you look at the tiebreaker, if it's a 2-way tie, let's say that for the last seed in the playoffs, if 2 teams are tied straight up with the same record, let's say they're 3-7, whatever it is, it would then be whoever won the regular season matchup would get in. But let's say we have a couple of 3-7 teams. It would then go down to point differential. And last year, we spoke about this, Horace, last year. Point differential really does mean something in this league. Even in terms of the top seed in the playoffs, I remember Swag running up the score last year against a certain team. I can't remember who it was. The other team actually got upset about it. Maybe it was Boonton. If I'm wrong, forgive me for misquoting it. But Swag definitely ran up the score against someone, and they were a little upset. But D'Lo was basically saying, hey, listen, I'm in this to win this league. I want to win the championship, and point differential is going to mean something because last year it was Swag, Union, and Hurricanes all at the top, and they all had right around the same record. They all kind of like beat each other out. They all had 1 loss at that point in time. So D'Lo was going for the point differential. So he was calling timeouts in order to give his team was up by a lot. They had the game in the bag, but they were trying to score extra points because point differential mattered.
I'm sorry.
And it's okay. So right now you look at it, point differential, Swag is at the top, plus 106. Now they do have an extra game on the Knights and the Union, who are respectively plus 77 and plus 54. Spartans plus 48, they have a perfect record, but in the differential, they're a little bit down there. So, and then Hurricanes, amazingly enough, even though they're 2-5, they are plus 5 in differential.
That's actually really big that they've scored 100 points. They're actually the second highest scoring team in the league.
Yeah, and you know what? You just look back to that GPAC game, 46-0.
Oh, okay.
That was a tremendous win for them. Because everyone is pretty much beating GPAC, but at Horace we beat them 23-7. I mean, that's plus 16. It's a big difference than plus 46.
It's more than half our points for the entire year.
So yeah, that makes me kind of. I mean, like I really don't think GPAC's that bad that they would let Hurricanes put up 46 unless there was something with like an attendance issue where they only fielded like 9-8 players. But I don't know that for sure. GPAC, let us know. So anyway, point differential matters. It's interesting that you got so many teams that are jockeying for playoff spots right at the bottom right there. A lot of 2-win teams, and you wonder how many of these 2-win teams can actually get another win, another 2 wins.
Maybe next week we'll have to look into who is, I guess, contender, pretender.
Yeah, for sure. I like that. I like that segment a lot. Gladiators and Hurricanes. That is a Week 10 matchup. That's one to definitely watch because right now, Gladiators is 2-4. Hurricanes is 2-5. Hurricanes has the point differential upon edge versus Gladiators. Gladiator has 1 less loss, but they play each other in Week 10, and that game certainly has playoff implications on the line.
And do you know who we play Week 9?
Week 9, let me think about it. I'm pretty sure that we have Knights.
Another 2-win team.
Hold on. I got it. It's got to be Boonton Bounty Hunters.
Yep. So that's another game with playoff implications.
Yep. And let's just see. They are plus 4 in the differential, whereas we are minus 17. So, Horace, we better start scoring some points, and more importantly, we better start winning some games.
I think 4 is magic number to get into the playoffs this year.
Yeah, and you know what, Horace, is as much as we've kind of blasted VS, and VS kind of really hurt themselves out the gate because they're negative 67. But as of lately, even the games that they've lost, they've kept it somewhat competitive. They won 19-0 this past week. They did beat the Hurricanes. But right now we are what, plus, is that 50? No, we're plus, Horace, help me out with my math here. We're plus 50 on them right now in point differential. So that's huge. And we've played one less game than them. So that also factors into it. If we got another blowout loss, things might be a little bit closer. But yeah, we also have the head-to-head record against them. But if it comes down to point differential, we have the edge on them as well. Question is, can they win another game? Because they seem to be a team on the rise. And Gladiators, you can't really say there's any easy games left on the radar for them. Anyway, let's move on, Hars, because I think we've talked about this ad nauseum already.
Shall we go to the pick segment?
Let's go to the pick segment, and you start us off with our first game. I will pull up the matchups for this week.
All right, so
our very first matchup is Hurricanes and Union. This one used to be – it seemed like previous years you can always peg this to be the championship game. Doesn't look like it's going to be the case this year, Horace.
Yeah, this used to be a marquee matchup every single year until this one. Although I will say this right now, if the Hurricanes do make the playoffs, they might be the scariest low seed team to make it just because they could put up points. That defense, however, needs work. So as for this game, I'm going to go with, you know what? I think Hurricanes might turn back the clock a bit. They might be more motivated just because it's the Union. I'll say 18-12 Union, though.
Yeah, I feel like if Hurricanes ever had any attendance issues, this would be one game you would not have to worry about that. I feel like they're going to rally all the troops. Hey, listen, guys, we don't care if you can make it out to the rest of the regular season games. But this one against Union, if nothing else other than bragging rights, we got to win this one. I think you can expect to see a good, hard-fought game from Hurricanes, but I just don't see it right there right now. I got 20-6 Union in this one.
All right, so let's go to Code Red and Swag.
Code Red and Swag. I got another Swag shutout, 28-0.
28-0. You're not going to bet. Honestly, if there was sports betting, however, pretty sure one of the prop bets would be, would Code Red put up 6 or 0? So I'm going to say 28-6.
28-6. Like I said, they're good for about 6 every week. And Swag, although they do have a very good defense, their offense definitely is superior. But that defense is very good. They're not going to put up any points against them.
I mean, Code Red is the most consistent team in the league right now. 6 points every week.
Points every week. And some weeks they might surprise you with a 7.
Actually, an 8.
An 8. They did get 8 against us. We got to give them that, Horace.
Right.
G-Pack versus the Spartans. This one will not be pretty. It won't be 46-0, but I see this one going 28-0. Spartans.
This is, like you said, this one is not going to be pretty for G-Pack. This is going to be like one of those. It's going to be an old-fashioned beatdown between a crew and like that one small kid. The Spartans being the crew, the G-Pack being the kid. I'm going to say, I'm actually I don't think the Spartans score that much, but I think this week they'll get their season high. 20. Let me do the math real quick. I'll say 26-0.
26-0. So we're pretty close on that one. Mm-hmm. We'll skip the Gladiators and Knights. Boonton Bounty Hunters versus VS. You know, Horace, would you say this is the marquee matchup of the week? Is this the best game of the week, maybe?
I'm praying it's not. Although this could be actually the marquee matchup of the week is. I still want to give it to Hurricanes Union. You never know.
Yeah, I felt like that would be the conventional pick just because of the history between the two teams. But
yeah, I mean, like the Giants still get primetime games. Like New York Giants, they're playing on Sunday night this week. So against I think the 49ers. So like both teams aren't too good.
Yeah, it's week 5 and the Giants are in their 3rd primetime game of the year.
Yeah. All right, so Boone Bounty Hunters vs. I'm actually gonna go against. No, I can't. I want to go with the VS here, but I don't see it being too plausible. I'll say 12. I don't know if I want to do 12-6 or 12-0. I'll go 12-6 Boone.
12-6 Boonton. I actually have the same exact score, Horace.
Yeah, and Kyle actually pre-wrote his scores too. So.
Yeah, pre-wrote. So hold on, let's stop presenting. Let's get our faces on camera here. Yeah, 12-6. I don't think it's going to be particularly high scoring. Boonton looked excellent on offense against GPAC, but I think they still need to work. Hinks, getting Brandon integrated there. DeCandy is still a new piece there. Obviously, a very tremendous player. But I think that they still need to get some chemistry down. I don't know how often they're practicing. I will say that they're very proactive in looking for scrimmages on bye weeks and things like that. But give props to the VS defense. I think they've stepped it up a little bit in previous weeks. I mean, they gave up 38 points in 1 week. So I think they've stepped it up. But yeah. Horace, any other thoughts? I do want to get to something else, but
I have nothing else, but Kyle, I know that we usually do this as a podcast show, weekly thing. But you and your brother, Gary Smith, you guys actually have your own thing going on. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so about 2 months ago, my brother and I, we launched our podcast called the AFC East Bros Podcast. So I'm a big New York Jets fan, for anyone who knows. My brother is a huge Buffalo Bills fan, for anyone that knows. In fact, he showed up to the game last week, and the first words that was uttered out of one of our teammates' mouth was, "Oh, Buffalo sucks." Really, that's how you greet a guy you never met before? But yeah, so we've always been talking about the AFC East, and obviously you got the Patriots. As you said to me before, it seems like every Jets fan knows a lot about the Patriots just because they just beat up on you every year. They always win the division. So we decided that, hey, listen, let's watch every single game in the AFC East, right? Let's start following all the reporters and stuff from the teams, and let's get to know these teams really closely. And the thing I really like about our show is that it's interactive.
Yeah,
and
it's actually one of the things I find fascinating. For those of you guys who don't know, you guys could actually call in and talk to Kyle and Gary while they're on air, just like how we're on air right now.
Absolutely. So every week from 7 and we run till about 9. It's usually about a 2-hour show.
On what days?
Tuesdays, 7 p.m. The number to call in is 302-202-1102. I should probably put that up on the screen. And I will show you where you guys can find us on iTunes. 302-202-1102. When you get in, you have to dial a PIN number, which is 419689. And Horace, you've actually called in on numerous occasions. And tell us a little bit about what you spoke about when you did call in, sir.
I mean, let's see. I'm trying to remember. Give me a second. So I've called in twice, and both times have been great. We talked about how this was earlier in the season. How the Dolphins just weren't living up to their potential. The Bills had the most talented roster, but can't close out games. It's been fun with you guys, and then we've had pick-up segments and everything. We talk about different teams. Sometimes you guys venture outside the AFC East. It's fun.
Yeah, and Horace, we've also talked about your love affair with the Miami Dolphins, which I think you might have just calmed down on them just a little bit.
I mean, they have so much talent, but they just wasted it for the first 4 weeks. Hopefully the interim coach and new defensive coordinator could finally get that defense and the offense going. Actually, it sounds like we're going into one of the segments right now for you guys.
Yeah, so there is the number right there, 302-202-1102, 419689. The number will always be the same every week, so I don't want to get too much into that, but we would love to hear. Listen, one thing we know about JAMS football players is they are passionate about the game. To come out to a game where really no one's watching you, there's not a crowd and stuff, to wake up early in the morning on your weekend and stuff, that takes a lot. I know a lot of people really put a lot into their playbooks and stuff, so we want to hear from passionate fans. We would love to hear from you. Call in. One thing that we do about our show is it's a little bit different than when you call up like the sport. If you call up WFAN, you call up the Michael K show. You ask a question, oftentimes they cut you off. we like to keep our callers on. If we don't have a long list, we keep you on for maybe 20 minutes or whatever.
And
So,
I've seen that. You guys have been unbelievably patient with a guy who after 2 games called the Jets defense like one of the like best ones since like the 2000 Ravens and the 86 Bears.
oh man, that guy, he's a trip, that guy. So anyway, this is our podcast, AFC East Bros. You can find us on iTunes. If you like the show, you can leave us a review on iTunes. That helps us a whole bunch.
Yeah, look at that popularity bar. You guys are flying up the rankings.
Yeah, we're flying
Yeah,
up there. It's growing little by little. So anyway, Horace, thanks a bunch for all you've done in helping grow the show and call in. And I'd love to hear. It would just make me so happy if someone from JAMS called in. So
yeah, we all know that there's so many Jets fans out there. Definitely a couple Pats fans in the league, but
yeah, Omar Kotanani, if you're watching this or one of your teammates is watching this, what happened, man? I knew you're a big Patriots fan. You're a Tom Brady defender. You said you were going to call in. You never did. I am sad.
Calling him out on air.
I'm calling him out on air because I was just thoroughly disappointed. He's like, oh, man, I watch all the AFC East games. So, Omar, I'm holding you to that. You better call in. All right, Horace. I think that about does it for us. Anything else, Horace?
No, that's it for me.
Okay. We're signing off. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. Have a good week.
Salam.